So day one of the third test has been stopped prematurely due to rain, bad light, etc. And Australia find themselves in a pretty comfortable position, I would say, given that they have such a strong batting lineup. It's currently 147 for two, and it was a toss. I feel that we would have liked to win based on the conditions of the pitch. It seemed like it was very good to bat on, and there wasn't too much in the wicket necessarily for the bowlers. But South Africa found themselves in a interesting position. Hopefully, they can come back for the second game and do some wonders. For the second day and do some wonders. But before we get going with this review, before we get started, there are a couple of things I would love you guys to do. Please subscribe if you're new to this channel and click that notification bell for all future videos, please. Also, what you guys can please do is download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. Please also smash the like button. Very important that you do so too. That's how we get into the YouTube algorithms and get recommended to other people that enjoy cricket, etc. Become a patron today. That's just if you want to help us grow and promote South African cricket. And if you want to help us grow as a company, please get involved with the Patreon account. There are different tiers that you can form part of. You can decide how much you actually want to donate, and yeah, it will really help us out as well as South African cricket. If you help us, we help South African cricket. This is how it works. And then also go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all regular updates. We have articles on the website, of course, on a regular basis, some reviews, previews, majority of the time, obviously, just reports, etc., as well as feature articles and opinion pieces. So please go to cricketfanaticsmag.com on a regular basis. We are doing quite well with regards to views per month, so we would like to increase it even further and go and reach, obviously, much higher heights. Okay, so without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. I'm looking forward to discussing this one with you guys, seeing what you guys have to say after this day one of the test. A very good evening, very good morning, and welcome to Cricket Fanatics magazine. This is your review show. I'm your host, Khalid, and this is the show where we talk about everything that has to do with day one of the third test between South Africa and Australia. This is also a call-in show. So how this works, just to explain to the people that are new to the channel and then don't know how this actually works, I'll give my review of what I thought about the game, and then I'll bring in a caller at a time to give their thoughts and what they thought of the match. We give each caller about a minute or 2 minutes or so to this, have a little discussion with me. If I feel that I need to get more out of the caller, of course, then we'll go for longer. But I try to keep it quite short if we have a lot of callers, and just to get their views so that I can get straight into the live chat as well and see what you guys have to say. Yes, guys. Khalid saying, bro, you need to go to bed. You look so tired. I'm dead tired. I haven't slept, obviously. Yeah, I have to stay up. If I don't watch the game, then I really can't speak about it, can I? I mean, the highlights, I can watch the highlights as well, but for me specifically, I won't be able to. It's okay to watch the highlights if I'm just going to give a short opinion or give my thoughts on the match, but I also have to navigate the conversation as well, so that's why I need to watch it. So that's the difference between me and maybe other fans at this moment. So let's go into what has happened in this match. I'm going to be sharing the scorecards with you guys so you can look at it with me, so that at least we know where is it. Okay, here we go. Audio off, please. I don't want to be hearing songs and things playing on the actual video. Okay, let's go to the scorecard. Okay, so this is what happened. Obviously, Australia won the toss and elected to bat, and was a good decision by them, I feel. The right decision as well. As you can see, they got off to a brilliant start, 147 for two. Usman Khawaja with 54. He always seems to do well against South Africa in the past. So obviously going to, he's the danger man, I think, going into day two. David Warner, only 10, which was great. It was interesting to see because a lot of people were wondering, what is David Warner going to do? Is he going to be able to continue what he's done after scoring a massive 200? Because before that 200, he hadn't really been scoring. I was listening to the commentators and what they had to say. They said something similar about Ricky Ponting towards the end of his career when he was hectically off form. People said he should retire. He scored a 200 and everybody said, oh no, he's back. And then he kind of went downhill from there after that. So I'm not wishing this on Warner, but Warner is going to obviously have to prove it with being more consistent going forward. So South Africa, I mean, Marnus Labuschagne, 79 of 151 deliveries, looked really comfortable at the crease, looked like he could handle the pace, etc. From a South African point of view, now there's not much to speak about in general from this with regards to this particular match. As you know, this game was hectically interrupted by rain and bad light and certain weird situations where I thought that it wasn't necessarily so dangerous to actually play. Now, the first caller that's going to come on today will probably be able to give me some more insight into this. But from my perspective or observation, uh, you normally don't let players play if you feel that it's dangerous for the batters. Now, the wicket wasn't necessarily spicy or anything. The ball was coming onto the bat quite nicely. I don't think necessarily the pitch was dangerous, even with the conditions. And it was weird to see them go off, then come back on, and then and then go back off again for the same reason. So there was a lot of overs missed and etc. Angry Gamer asking me the link. The link is in in the description. I will post it as well in the live chat right now if you guys don't see it in the description, but it normally is in the description. I will post it here. So with regards to our bowlers, I mean, only one man really stood out for me, and that was Anrich Nokia. He was excellent again today. Good line lengths, getting key wickets. I mean, Rabada wasn't that great today again. He bowled a bit all over the place, I feel. As you can see, 0 for 45. But for me personally, as well, I was impressed by Marco Jansen, the attitude, the aggression. And as well, what happened is he was very close to getting a wicket as well. It just bounced in front of Simon Harmer. So interesting day of cricket. And ultimately, I feel that South Africa, um, I wouldn't say they're in a good position necessarily, but the positive that I can take out of this is that we did take 2 wickets and 2 key wickets in this particular match. Hopefully, we can come back and get a couple of more wickets and keep them down to a lowish total. Even though we do need to be able to learn how to chase, and I think that our batters need some runs and they need some confidence. I don't necessarily want us to have like a massive total to go after and get completely destroyed again. So yeah, that's the summary of the match, guys, from what has happened. Let's get our first caller on the line. Welcome, Kelly. Welcome to the show. What would you like to say?
I know, just held it. Um, it was it was interesting. It felt like it was a pitch that I know would know, Anush Nokia and Marco Jansen playing on coastal wickets in PE would be quite familiar with slower pitches. This one actually felt a bit dead at times, but the bowlers I felt were fine. It was just a session after lunch where they got a bit of tap, and I felt that Helga brought Nokia back very late. He tends to do this. Nokia hardly ever gets an early bowl after lunch, and that sort of winds me up often. I don't understand why, because when he comes back, he starts getting things out of the pitch that he shouldn't. Like, I mean,
Mm.
by all rights, he's the only one who's getting, some sort of movements and bounce and pace out of the wicket where there is none. So I just thought Olga should have brought him back sooner. He also can't really bowl Simon Harmer in short spells. He's not that type of spinner. He needs to let him settle. That's not how he gets his wickets. So I know this game was interrupted, but that's also a thing that bothers me. He's not using him properly. No, it was sort of expensive in 5 overs, but you can't bowl such short spells and expect him to get wickets.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kelly. And I was surprised actually that they didn't bring on maybe Keshav and Simon at the same time at a particular within the game to try and get that prolonged spells, especially with the rain and all that, trying to get overs in and trying to take wickets. I mean, they could have put pressure on them at a particular time, obviously coming out after the break, um, to get more overs in, of course. And you're right. I agree with you on Simon Armour. He's always been the type of guy. If you look at his overs at the end of a game, he's always sitting way ahead of everybody else with the amount of overs bowled. And I mean, Elga's captaincy for a while has bothered me with regards to certain decisions, field placements, etc. I know there was a lot of talk about the field placements and the keeper and how far he was actually standing at the beginning. And but it actually worked in our favor because when Sean Pollux mentioned it on commentary, they took a wicket directly after that, and he actually corrected
I,
himself.
I recall.
Yeah. So, with regards to tomorrow and the next game, I mean the next day, what are your opinions on that, and how do you think Alka should approach it with regards to utilizing his bowlers? Because Kagiso and your point was excellent because if we had bowlers, if KG was on fire and taking wickets and bothering the opposition, then I can understand leaving Andrich Nokia maybe for a little bit later. But when your other bowlers aren't, or KG specifically isn't necessarily coming to the party and is bowling inconsistently, then it doesn't make sense to keep onto your best bowler. So what's your thoughts on tomorrow and how Alga should approach it?
Well, I wouldn't mind sort of approaching it with your performing bowlers. Um, and that your best performing bowler is Andrich Nokia. He should probably start tomorrow morning. Um, Marco Jansen was also quite good. There, I mean, I'd obviously never discount KG's ability to take wickets because he's not leading wicket taker for last year for no reason. Even if he's not functioning at full capacity, tomorrow is a new day for bowlers.
Mm.
But then if he bowls Kesh and Simon, he should at least, even if you want to give Kesh short spells because he can bowl like that. He can take wickets bowling short spells, but you have to let Simon settle. So when you bring them on, let them at least bowl. If you bowl them in tandem, there's no reason why you can't bowl them for a lengthy period of time. Let them find their line and length.
Yeah, and let them settle. I agree with you, Kelly. Thanks a lot, Kelly, for coming on the show and having
Okay.
your say. We'll chat to you again tomorrow, hopefully. And yeah, let's continue. Now, guys, with regards to the weather, there are some issues for the rest of this week. Um, I'm looking at the weather report currently. I'll show it to you guys right now. Why am I struggling to share these things? Stop giving me issues. Here we go. Take that off. Take that off. Okay, cool. So yeah, we've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It looks like it's raining every single day. So it's getting it increases in the precipitation as well, and so it's interesting to see that this game is probably going to get heavily affected by rain throughout this week, which is a shame. South Africa are in desperate need of the points and to be able to make sure that their chances obviously remain strong to make it into that WTC final. Let's get the next caller on the show. We've got Stuart with us. Welcome to the show, buddy. What would you like to say?
Um, yeah, thanks for having me on. Um, from what I saw this morning, it looks like KG isn't looking himself at the moment. I know we've been mentioning that for the past few weeks. Um, I don't really know how we're going to solve that with his workload because there's quite a few people are saying in the chat zone um, he's got a lot of white ball games coming up with the SA20 and the IPL, and I think there's a few ODI series coming up. So I don't know how we're going to manage him. I think possibly maybe we should actually give him a rest, maybe during the England series, and try. I don't know if you can even limit his workload in the SA20 because they won't like that at MI Cape Town. But yeah, I don't really know the solution to it because he really wasn't looking like himself today. And yeah, I thought Nokia bowled quite well today, and I thought Marco Jansen had decent spells at times. Um, Simon Harmer actually looked like he was getting a bit of turn, especially with the left-handers batting. So I think, yeah, they did score quite quickly today, but I think it's not looking, how can I put it, as doom and gloom at this stage. As I know it's 147 for two, but there's still like wicket taking opportunities for the bowlers. There's enough in the pitch for bowlers to get wickets. So yeah.
I've been a bit worried about Kesh too. I mean, when
Mm.
he's given when he has been given an opportunity in recent times. Okay, yes, he hasn't always bowled in favorable conditions for himself. But he's what I'm concerned about more is that he's easily to get at, and that's the
Yeah.
problem. They score off him, and that's my issue. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Kelly. What do you think Alga should? How he should? Do you think he should approach it? If we get game time tomorrow, of course, because we saw the weather report, it doesn't look really good.
Mm.
How do you think he does approach it going forward?
Yeah, personally, for me, I agree with what Kelly was saying. I think Anrik Nokia should start the day. I do think that he should try at least, instead of bowling like two fast bowlers together at a time, unless it really, conditions dictate it. I'll try bowl spinner as much as I can with a fast bowler just to get overs and to try to take some wickets, as you were saying earlier. Um, and I think for me personally, the best option, like with Kawaja at this point, is probably getting Simon Harmer coming around the wicket at him. Um, and yeah, I think, yeah, hopefully KG rests well tonight, and hopefully we can also get some wickets tomorrow with Anrik Nokia because we need to get Steve Smith out tomorrow quite early to at least have I don't want to say a decent chance, but if we going to put pressure on them, he's probably the key at this point with Kawaja. And then, yeah, we just mustn't let Travis Head, score too quickly tomorrow, like he did in the first two tests. That's also going to be a bit of a problem. But once those three are out, and I know it's easier said than done, it's game on. So, yeah.
Okay, awesome, Stuart. Thanks a lot for coming on the show and giving you time. We will chat to you again tomorrow. Hopefully, if there is game play, of course, we'll do a show anyway, just to chat. But thanks anyway, guys. I'll chat to you, to guys tomorrow again. Okay, let's bring on the next caller, Ravi. He didn't get an opportunity to come on the previous show, so I have an interesting question for him, which he doesn't even know that I'm gonna be asking him. But welcome to the show, Ravi. Good to see you, bro. Um,
Morning. Good morning, South
uh,
Africa. Good morning, Australia. Good morning, Cricket Fanatics.
How's it, bro? Look, yeah. So the headline reads the team many wanted. Are you happy with the decision that was made with regards to the batting lineup? I know we haven't had an opportunity to bat yet, but were you happy with the fact that we went with the two spinners and only the two seamers in KG and Andrich, and then also playing Heinrich Klaassen over the likes of Rassie van der Dussen. So what's your thoughts on the team lineup and the team that we picked today?
Yeah, so absolutely, Khalid. I think it definitely caught me by surprise this morning, because I thought the selectors would go the typical knee-jerk reaction and go back to Rassie. And thankfully they didn't. I think they wanted to adapt or adopt a new sort of batting style, and bringing in Heinrich Klaassen, I think, is a breath of fresh air. We've seen what he can do in the one-day circuit, the white ball circuit. He's only had the one test against India, I think it was 3 years ago. So I'm interested to see what he does this time around. And I think Kyle Verreynne is unfortunately in a position very similar to Quinton de Kock, what is it, 2 seasons ago almost, where he's carrying the load for the team essentially. In terms of the bowlers, I think it is also refreshing to see that we're bringing our spin twins on again. It's I think it's touch and go in Sydney. I think the fact that the weather conditions for the next couple of days would mean that we would need to have a faster over rate. So in essence, we would have to bring on the spinners more regularly than not. I would agree with Stuart, the previous caller, where we should open up with Andrik straight away and maybe give sort of a tandem opening pair with Marco Jansen. Because I think that between the two of them, they're the ones that are sort of getting more sort of, I don't want to say purchase. Purchase doesn't really apply to fast bowlers, but effectively they're making the ball dance a bit between the two of them. KG is not looking himself. I would agree with that. He's bowling too many half volleys, too many over pitch deliveries, and the batters are getting on top of him. Interestingly enough, I think the spinners are going to play a vital role just to get as many overs out of the way as possible. And the danger man for me is neither Khawaja nor Steve Smith, but actually Travis Head. I'm very worried when he does eventually come to the crease. He's, for me, the most informed man in the Australian batting lineup at the moment. So I'm more cautious as to what will happen there. I have looked up a stat though with Usman Khawaja, and it looks like the bulk of his dismissals have been LBWs and caught behind. So he's quite susceptible to the spinners. So perhaps just to take a gamble, maybe start off with the spin twins straight away and see what may transpire. But look, it's still early days. I hope it ends up in a draw as opposed to 3-0, because the batting lineup has a lot to prove in this final test.
Yeah, and when it comes to Travis Head, I think for me personally, if I look at it, I'm probably most worried about it when he comes in to face Kish. I think that's where I'm worried about. But and KG, I'm worried about too, because what bothers me about KG is not necessarily on his pace. Like, I could understand if he was a little bit tired and obviously overbowled or whatever the case may be, and he's lost some pace. But it's his accuracy and consistency that's bothering me, which I felt that would be almost inevitable with his experience. That maybe he'll pull his lines and lengths and make sure that he does rather bowls more consistently on dangerous areas on the pitch, rather than pushing his pace and being wayward. I feel like he's a little bit wayward at the moment. He's not really that consistent, and that bothers me, because majority of the time with bowlers, actually they become more accurate as they get older, generally speaking. But I feel like he's lost that a bit. How do you think Dean Algo should approach that, and how do you think he should do that if we get some game time tomorrow?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Because Cash has been picked up quite easily. I think it's safe to say. I think he's only got one wicket in this entire series, which is very unlike him. I may be mistaken. The callers, the fans on watching the stream may prove otherwise. But he's been picked very easily. I think that bowling with Harmer just as experienced spinner with him could render some benefits as well. Because if he's seeing what's happening on the opposite end, it may very well influence his style of bowling as well. And I think that between the two of them, they talk quite regularly. I think between overs as well. So I think the approach should be such that if they're going to do it, they need to do it together. Because I think that it's one of those gambles that could either pay off very well, or it's one of those gambles that unfortunately could cost us. Because you're right, Travis Head does favor the spinners generally. We've seen that in previous Test series as well. He took on Roston Chase in the West Indies series, the series prior to this, and he sent him all over the park as well. So we have to bear in mind that he has a favorability towards spin bowling. But I think we'd have to go with the spin bowling play in any event, Khalid, largely because of the weather conditions that are coming up as well. But Dean needs to be in Keshav's ear. I notice he hasn't been engaging as much anymore. There seems to be something that has changed in the periphery of it all. While we say it's not the same side that we're accustomed to, I think the leadership as well has been somewhat lacking in very critical cases, and I think this is one of those, unfortunately. And I think Dean needs to speak to his bowlers more often. Effectively, he's not really engaging with them as much as I would have liked to have seen, at least.
Yeah. Okay, Ravi, thanks a lot for coming on the show, bro, and giving me your opinion. I hope you can come on again tomorrow if there is matches played, etc. I mean, if there's game time on the day.
What is the
So
question you wanted to ask me, though? What is the one that you are hiding?
that the first one that I asked you was the first
Oh,
question.
okay.
Yeah,
I thought it
yeah,
was
about the
something
team.
else.
Yeah. No, because you didn't get an opportunity to obviously give your thoughts on selection because you weren't here for the previous show. So I really wanted to hear what you have to say, because I know you're a big Lions fan as VP Blitz. So I think so. So I was
No,
just wanted to
I'm a
know.
Lions patron. I'm not a fan. I'm a Province fan. We just want to make that clear.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I'll pull your leg. But I know that Rassi van der Dussen obviously is someone that is that we are on this, like at least Cricket Fanatics magazine, we have a decent relationship with Rassi, and I've always been a big fan of Rassi. But I mean, I don't want to be biased. So sometimes you just need to be honest, and oh well, I would like to be honest on this channel. That's the main thing on the channel, is about being honest with the fans and actually giving our thoughts. But Ravi, shout out for coming on the show. I'll chat to you very, very soon, bro. Hopefully tomorrow after the day's play. So guys, let's wrap this up. Let's get some let's see what you guys have to say in the live chat today. I can't go right to the top because it's obviously going to be I'm assuming that you guys are also talking about things that we are talking about, so I don't want to necessarily repeat the same information. Guys need fresh blood. Guys, we need fresh blood, not just with players, but the coaching department too. Langenveld is not world class. Imagine those places under world class coach, says Dirshan. Lawrence says the SA attack under Langenveld is arguably the best attack in the world and have been for the past couple of years. So how is Langenveld getting criticized here? Dilshan says, just my opinion, I feel they perform in spite of him and not because of him. Paces like KG, Anna, and Janssen will perform no matter what, who the coach is. Imagine them under a guy like Donald, says Dilshan. Pratik says the problem with KG also lies with the transformation targets. Otherwise, no. Gerald Kutsia could replace him, but we don't have a black bowler who is half as good. I don't agree with you there, actually, at all. I don't think it's got to do with transformation when it comes to KG. Lawrence, I also find that strange. Our bowling was fantastic. It's our batting that needs work. Alge in particular needs to stand up. And I agree. I don't think Langenveld deserves the criticism that he gets because there is no way of measuring um, whether he hasn't affected the bowling. I mean, because they're doing well. So how can you say that he hasn't helped the bowling? And that doesn't make sense. So, yeah, in my opinion, I'll open up with Andrich and Harmer, says Lawrence. Maybe Simon Norman matches up with Head. Yes, and I think that is a possibility. Actually, I think if anybody can fight things through it, Simon Norman has this other quality in him that maybe Keshav, I feel, maybe sometimes doesn't have, and that's when the pressure's on to be able to find a way and and find a way to be consistent. His consistency is excellent as a spinner, and that's what I like a lot about him. Um, he matches up with Head and Carey. He has no wickets this series, I think, says Lawrence Bailey. I think so too. I haven't checked the stats again. I don't think Keshav has picked up a wicket. Um, what are we basing your opinion on, Dishan? From what I see, Langenfeld's helped them have their game plan sorted. Yeah, I'm just worried about Head using the pace of the ball. The other day, you were saying support JSK Ravi. Yeah, Stuart. Yeah, Ravi's great. No, Ravi's a person that is caught between two worlds, I would say. He was born in Cape Town, but moved to Joburg and been living there for a while. So he does go to a lot of the Lions games at the Wanderers, etc. And I think that also will skew his views because you fall in love with the team if you support them. It's crazy. Like I've seen many football fans support a club for many years throughout their youth, and it takes one visit to a different stadium, and all of a sudden they are a supporter of that team, and they drop the other. So I can understand how you can get drawn in by that. We got another caller with us, Likle. Welcome back to the show, bro. What would you like to say?
Good morning, Khalid. How are you today?
I'm good. Just tired, I think. My eyes want to close right now as I'm sitting here.
Yeah, um, Khalid, I think I want to raise an important issue that I observed on Twitter because I was reading your question about what do you think CSA, what are your wishes for CSA this year? And I think it's very concerning, some of the answers that were given by the fans, especially with regards to transformation and the coder system, because we have to be honest that every single time, and I've noticed this, that when the Proteas are not doing well, it's almost like the players of color, they take the blame. I think it's wrong for that because those players did not pick themselves to be in the Proteas team. I think blaming Kaya Zondo, blaming even Ramada, we know he's world class, and yes, he's tired, he needs to be rested. But really saying that he's there because of his color, it's very concerning. The attitude of our fans, and especially our white fans in South Africa. I'm not trying to be racist, but I'm just stating the truth here. Because if you want to build this rainbow nation where all of us can be united under one, and yes, we have our complaints about the team. Yes, we want the team to get better, but for you now to really get us back to those racial lines and really, singling out players of color as if they really pick themselves, it's very racist. And I saw also, Fidos Munda, who said that it's very wrong, really, because these players have worked very hard to get there, and yes, they might not be where we want them to be based on form, but really blaming them and calling them by names, it's really wrong for me. I don't know what are your views on this, but I've really noticed this trend where a lot of fans are really blaming every single time they're not doing well. No, it's Zondo, no, it's Rabada, it's Pavuma. And it's, you don't blame. Yes, I've heard some people blaming the white players, but it's almost like it is centered among the racial lines of, and it's very concerning to me, Khalid, really for me.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know what my view on this is on this channel and my rules are on this channel. For example, I've banned the word quota in our live chat. So I've banned the word quote I've banned that word because I feel that only when a person of color, when it's a person of color that doesn't perform, there's this word quota that is used negatively to label a player. When a white player doesn't perform, there is no word for them. There's no tag, there's no nothing for them if they don't perform. So my views on racism in South Africa, I don't know if you saw my a little clip that I put on TikTok the other day. I went for a rap. Yeah, so I'm very very much against it, and I'm very, because what doesn't make sense to me, and just use a little bit of critical thinking out there. I'm not talking about you, Lichle, but to the rest of the fans out there and
Yeah.
out there in the world that are watching the show. It doesn't make logical sense to me how your skin color affects your performance. Now,
Yeah.
In South
Hey.
Africa, it just so happens to be because cricket is a wealthy man's sport. It's a, you could say, to an extent it was started by to an extent by colonialists, etc. It
White
was made
people.
big. It was made by obviously people that are wealthy play the sport because it's a very expensive sport, right, in South Africa. So that's
Yes.
one thing that I think that people don't necessarily always understand, that because it's a expensive sport to play, it's very difficult to get equipment, and specifically it's very difficult to get batting equipment. Now let's rewind back and analyze that entire that entire thing. South Africa has a very high poverty rate poverty rate compared to the rest of the world. In South Africa, the majority are Black African and people of color. In the rest of the world, the Black African are the minority, or Black people are the minority, or the people of color are minority in other countries, except obviously by India, Pakistan, all of those countries. But if you look at the western side of the world, for example, the USA, if you look at England, if you look at the other European countries, people of color are the minority. White people are the majority. Yet there are opportunities given to people
Yes.
of color in those countries now. They are starting to put
Yeah.
things in. What baffles me is that majority are the people of color in South Africa, to the degree of 90%. Not like, oh,
Uh,
majority 60 or majority 55.
not
It's majority
20%.
90%. So what,
Mm.
unfortunately, we can't hide away from this. Apartheid caused a lot of issues in South Africa with regards to social economic issues in
Yeah.
South Africa, with regards to poverty, etc.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that is, and so it just
Mm.
happens to be that people of color are the ones that are suffering with regards to poverty and not etc. And education, lack of education, lack of jobs, all of those type of things. It's the people
Yes.
of color that are obviously they are the ones that are suffering from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the reason why it looks like to some people that
Mm.
people of color can't perform or people can't for bat, etc., is because of the amount of people that are being given opportunities. We don't have a lot of people, because let's not get us wrong here. There are a hell of a lot of white people players in this country that are average too.
Yeah.
You know, there
Yes.
are loads of them out there. They aren't, not every single white player that plays a sport is a good cricketer.
Mm.
It's
It's a good
mind-boggling that
player.
people use the
Mm.
skin color as a reason for for non-performances. You can
And
talk about poverty, you can talk about circumstance,
uh,
you can talk about those things
uh,
making it hard. I've always said, this is my 100% blanket statement, and this is 100% true in my opinion.
mm.
People of color, or particularly Black African people in South Africa, which is
Yes.
80% of our country's population, or the
Yes.
demographics,
Yes.
they are starting cricket because I always say they are first. Okay, so in my opinion, people or white cricketers in South Africa are third, fourth, fifth,
Mm.
sixth, seventh generation cricketers.
Yes. Yes.
Colored cricketers or people or Indian cricketers in South Africa are possibly second or third generation cricketers. Black
Of course.
African cricketers in
Yes.
South Africa are first generation cricketers. A lot of the times,
Yes.
Black Africans that are making it into the team, it's their first time ever playing cricket. It's the first person
You've
of their
come.
family that is playing cricket.
And
Just
the
like we have
families. Yeah.
just like we have when Black African people go to university. In general, they are the
Mm.
first
It's a
generation
good thing.
of their family going to university. So you
Mm.
are asked. So in my opinion, this is how the situation sits. White people start
Mm.
100-meter sprint. Okay, so I would say a Black African starts the 100-meter sprint on the 800-meter mark. I feel that a person of the colored person and an Indian person starts a 100-meter sprint on the 400-meter
Yeah.
mark or 600-meter mark, and a white person starts at the finish line. That is my opinion.
Okay.
So that's how I see it. That's my views on the quotas, on not necessarily
And
the quota system, because I feel
and
there are flaws within the quota system. I'm not going to deny
yes.
that. I think the way
Yeah.
it's been
Yeah.
implemented is maybe incorrect, but there
Just
is
the
a
numbers
massive
came
need.
out.
Yeah, and I don't
Yeah.
think it's right that we just pick Black African players for the sake of meeting a quota or a number.
Yeah.
I think that's
That's how it
incorrect
is.
because, yeah, I think
Mm.
that's incorrect because then in that case you are almost doing injustice to the players that are actually good in the country and that are
And
fighting for
and
it.
And you know, Khalid, what I've noticed is that a lot of these, I'll make you an example now. I'm just going to be quick here. There's a player called Valentine Kitim. I don't know if you know him, playing for the Rocks. He played in the Under 19 World Cup. I believe that they've rushed Kitim because sometimes as a player, you need that academy years where you're coming out of high school. You need to first go to the academy team and just, I'm not saying it's not good enough, né? But there are those players where you say, okay, let him go through the academy. But there are those special players that's like Brevis, for example, you go straight to the team. But there are those players where you say there are certain areas in his game that I believe he needs to work into. So let him go to the academy. But they rush these black players into first class cricket because they want to fit the numbers. And then the player has a good couple of games, scores good hundreds, then he gets to the national team and doesn't do well. I believe that they rush these players. They're not patient with them, almost like they want to just to fit the numbers. So I don't know if you've noticed that where a lot of these players coming out of high school, these black African batters, an example of that is Keshile. Look at what happened to Keshile. Keshile is not doing well, and CSA has not done anything. I was saying to my friend, I think it was yesterday, where why has CSA not sent their coaches down to the Warriors and say, Keshile, what is going on with you? Because we expected you to be in the Proteas team by now. They're just waiting there. They're not doing anything. They should have sent their special coaches down to the Warriors and say, this is the program that we're going to design for you. These are the areas that we've identified in your game. And this is how you're going to. So ask Robin Peterson, what is going on with Keshile? Instead of just waiting and saying, no, we're not going to select him because he's not doing well. I don't know what are your thoughts about that, but it seems like these players of color, if they're not doing well, or just in general players, they just leave them out in the dark and they have no programs designed and intervene and say, okay, this is the program that we have for you because we want you in the national team in the next couple of years. And because it seems like to me, Keshile was identified at a young age as an elite player, and now he's not doing well, and they're not doing anything to really help him in his game. And it's very frustrating for me because he's one of those special talents where CSA should have really, for me, a long time ago, designed a program and bring in specialist coaches to really help him,
And not only that, Lichle, they had to identify him as a certain format player, and also his strongest format has been the longer format. When he came out of Sky Majola week, he was scoring runs for fun in time cricket. That's where I first saw him. He wasn't necessarily a white ball cricketer, in my opinion, at the time. He was a type of cricketer that took his time at the crease, played beautiful strokes, ran between the wickets, etc. When he went to the Warriors, I mean, almost instantly, I remember they gave him his debut in the Proteas T20 team just to fit numbers, because at the time they were using the T20 team almost as before this whole T20 World Cup every second year was happening. They used to have a they used to use the T20 team almost as an opportunity to catch up with numbers if they didn't meet up to the transformation targets throughout the year. And they gave him an opportunity in T20 cricket, and his mind shifted because almost all instantly he became more a T20 player in a way. They made him captain as well at a young age. I mean, after his first season, he didn't score a century, but he scored a hell of a lot of 50s. Immediately, they should have identified that there's an issue of conversion, help him with that, so that he could get more consistency in the following year. But instead, they gave him a captaincy, and then his form suffered. Then he was trying to push for T20 gigs, and his mind is now focused on that. So I feel that the development that we give, I think that players of color need a lot more attention, because what happens is, like I said, you start. Maybe I can push it a little bit further. I wouldn't say that white players start at the finish line. Maybe I should say maybe on the 200-meter mark, or maybe I should. No, not even. I think at least on the finish line or even over the finish line, because they do have an advantage. Not only do they have an advantage when it comes to wealth, with regards to having access to equipment and having access to wealth in great schools, but also on top of it, access to coaches. If you take a white cricketer that has played Western Province his entire life, so from junior age group level, what you will notice is this: a white cricketer will get he will probably be introduced to it by his parents or by his brothers or wherever the case, or cousins or whatever, or uncles, whatever the case may be. So that's how he gets introduced to the sport. And obviously, automatically, he will be getting his dad probably would have been playing cricket for a club. So there's some sort of coaching happening from
There's a
the age of
history.
2, 3, 4, 5 years old already. There's already some sort of training happening. Then he gets into a primary school, a decent primary school, and goes to a club. And then he'll get a coach at the club and he'll get a coach at school. So that's already 3 coaches he's had in his life by the
Yeah.
time he reached the age of 10, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
Then he goes to a primary school and now he gets a coach there. So that's his fourth coach. Then he makes the Western
Hmm.
Province team. Once he makes the Western
And I
Province team, that's
love
his
it.
fifth coach. Then he'll go.
Yeah.
Then he'll go to high school. He'll have a sixth coach. Then he'll get a Western Province, a different coach at Western Province when he gets to the higher age group levels. That's his seventh
Yeah.
coach. Then he gets to the national side and he gets another coach. So in the
SA under
time in his
19.
period in his career, he's under 19, if they make us in the 19 team, that's
Handful
another
of
coach.
coaches.
So we're talking about 8 coaches that he would have had in his
Yeah.
lifetime, compared to a black African kid that maybe stays in the township that has been introduced to cricket by mere
Just hard
luck, possibly. You'll have a
coaches.
coach at you'll have a coach at club level. The school that he goes to probably doesn't even play cricket. And then the
Oh, they
first time he
don't
gets
play.
proper coaching is when the first time he'll get proper coaching is when he gets to the Western Province level. And then you are talking about the
Hmm.
person that's why I say white players have a head start when it comes to cricket in South Africa. We are very, very, very far behind when it comes to our players of
Unequal
color.
society.
It's an unequal society, with especially in cricket. I'm
Yo.
specifically in cricket. It's specifically
Yo.
in cricket. Licle, thanks a lot for
And
calling in, brother. I will chat to you
yeah,
again very soon because I'm gonna have to call time on this particular call. I'll chat to you very soon. You can call in again tomorrow on the show because I didn't necessarily want to be talking about other topics, but it came up. Let me just get into the last couple of views over here that people have to say. Um, Someone's asking Kelly questions. Kelly, thanks a lot for being in the comment in the live chat and keeping people entertained. Agreed. What did she say first of all? Okay, here we go. Start here. CSA needs to up their game at grassroots level in particular. They've been dropping the ball there. Yeah. So I heard a story. I was chatting to one of my colleagues, Ungama. We were having a very good discussion because I wanted to ask him about what it is like in the township where he stays, and what is it like with regard to that, in cricket coaching, etc. So he did tell me that since I do invest a lot of money into cricket in the townships, but there's no follow-ups. So they'll go to a club, for example, or they'll go to a place and they'll invest. CSA will invest a hell of a lot of money, but the people in charge, they will maybe not use the money correctly, or they don't use it in the correct fashion, or they maybe don't use all of it, or whatever the case may be. And there doesn't seem to be a follow-up from CSA to go back to those venues where they've donated their money. And I think that needs to happen. There needs to be follow-ups happening to see that money is being spread and used correctly. Equally equal yet different, sorry, says, how's Makanya been doing in the longer format? I haven't been watching domestic cricket in a while. He actually hasn't been doing too badly in the longer format. He's been doing okay. He actually had a very good season last season. Stuart saying he agrees. Had a good season last season, average 40 for the Titans. Yes, so he had a good season last season. Baker's mini cricket still a thing. It's now called KFC mini cricket. And it is good to expose the cricketers, the youngsters, to this, because a lot of the children come from townships, etc., and get given an amazing day in introduction to cricket, and also get an opportunity to be able to engage, for example, with cricketers, current cricketers, Proteas players, franchise players, etc. So it's a good experience for them to get introduced to the game. The problem with KFC mini cricket is what happens after that. There needs to be programs set in place for those kids to be able to continue, not just be introduced into it, and then hope that they find, now they're aware that they will find cricket at a school. So I think that's something that's very important. Johan says, hi Khalid, I haven't watched your content for a while, but I just want to say that you're looking very good. I can see that you have lost some weight. Congratulations. Thank you a lot, Johan. Pratik says, people in SA are quite conservative in selecting youngsters. Had it been the subcontinent, Brevis would have been playing international cricket. I feel he is ready. In white ball cricket, I think that they should invest into him, yes, but he hasn't played a game of red ball cricket, and yet people are calling for him to be in the test side, which is ridiculous in my opinion. It's crazy. is he anywhere near being in contention for a call up? I think with regards to the players of color that are close to being in tension, I think from a people of color perspective, Black African specific, it's Tony Dezorzi in my eyes. I think Tony Dezorzi is the type of player that can play anywhere in the top three, top four, and I think that he would be a person to bring into the team. Let's just go to a little bit lower down and see what you guys have to say over here. Um, Raul says, I wish for color not to be the deciding factor. Players should just be picked on merit. If that means that the whole team is black, then so be it. But our best 11 on the field, period. Now, yes, to an extent that is the case, but then also you need to make sure that we are producing um, enough players of quality that we can pick on merit, because at the moment it's not necessarily always the case. Now, I do think that we need more people to play cricket in South Africa. And the only way we can get more people to play cricket in South Africa is if you get the masses to play cricket in South Africa. How can you? That's the only way I feel it works. Now, I've already explained earlier on to Lichle how I feel that the situation works. I believe that white cricketers are normally multiple generation cricketers. Um, I think that colored and Indian players specifically are maybe um, a couple of generation cricketers. Maybe their father and their uncle played, or maybe their father and their grandfather played. And then when it comes to Black African cricketers specifically, and you have to separate it because I feel that Black African people are suffering a lot more in this country than people of the other people of color. I'm not saying that colored people and Indian people aren't suffering. They are, and if you look in the areas, Cape Town, in other parts of the world, in other parts of the country, people of color in general are suffering. But the Black African people are suffering a lot more. I feel the conditions in the township are terrible at the moment, and not only that, the government kind of puts what irritates me is that in these areas as well, the things that are big are alcohol, gambling, and things like that pulls people into bad situations and bad choices. And it's almost like they feed into that to keep people oppressed in a way. And I think that needs to change too. We need to start educating um, and giving hope to our people of color, because they have been impoverished for so many years that they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. The light is very murky. They cannot see the light in the end of the tunnel, and when you are in that mindset, it's very hard to get out of that. You guys can do a test with yourself. When you don't believe you can do something, it is very difficult to try and do that thing, no matter how much you want to. If you feel that you can't, you most likely won't. And when you can't see um when you can't see hope, and there's no hope for you, it's very difficult to recover from that, and we need to fix that in this country. Don't forget bowling machines. I was lucky my teammates were cool with me coming over to hit balls. Guys, I mean, if you look at some of the white players in South Africa, they have bowling machines or nets in their backyard. I mean, the townships don't even have nets in general. Like, I mean, never mind in their backyard. So just think about that for a second. That's what we are dealing with, the unfairness that we are dealing with. Um, Subs is another example of a player who was rushed into senior cricket, just turned 18 when he made his first class debut, thrown right into the deep end. He's definitely talented, though. I also feel that ex Proteas has not been treated well, and as a result, not seeing them involved with our youngsters. Yeah, we need to get some of our ex players more into the setup in the coaching capacity. Um, yeah, I think that needs to happen. Do away with the quota nonsense as pathetic pick player on merit, says Divani. I don't. Okay, cool. It's the role of the government to build cricket facilities at school. CSA provides coaches and equipment. Government needs to wake up, and that's 100% true. The government isn't doing enough to try and help people of color to get out of impoverished situations. We need to clean up this country. We need to clean it up one city at a time, one area at a time, and give these kids, young kids at least, give them hope. Give them hope that there's an opportunity. In rugby, we have, and this is the reason why I feel the only aspect of the quota system that I back, I feel, is that having people of color in the national setup gives kids hope because they can relate to someone. I don't think a young boy from the township can relate to Dean Algar. Not a chance can they relate to Dean Algar and look at Dean Algar as a hero and look up to him and say, you know, I want to be like Dean Algar. I don't even think they can look up to Rabada because Rabada is a type of player that came from wealth. He went to a decent school. His parents are wealthy, good jobs, etc. So he's not even a role model for young Black African kids. So we need to have opportunities for these kids to at least get exposed to people then at domestic level that are making something out of their life and making something out of it, so that they have some hope. Because when you look at Sia Khaleesi and you look at the Springboks, there are multiple examples of success stories out of the townships, and that is because of the things that SA Rugby, Rassi, Erasmus, and a lot of other people have put in place to be able to give opportunities to more people of color, because they understood that the only way we can become a dominant force in world cricket, in world rugby, is if we give opportunity to the masses so that we can grow the pool of players that we can pick from. The more players we can pick from, the more players we can produce. It's as simple as that. Munir says, exactly, it's about players that come from underprivileged background that will inspire, and that's 100% true. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please smash the like button, comment, share, subscribe, click the notification bell for all future videos. What I would like you guys to do as well is to please download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. You can also become a patron today if you want to help us grow and promote South African cricket, and if you want to help us make a difference, because we need to be able to. The only way we can make a difference is if we get to a certain level and we get to a certain respect level as well within the media community. It's also important that we start making money with this. And money, I'm talking about where we can actually make a difference, where we can put that money back into the townships, put that money back into the development of cricket in South Africa. That's the dream that I want to have with regards to Cricket Fanatics magazine. And we need your help to do so, guys. So please get involved with the Patreon account to help us promote and grow South African cricket. You can also go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for our reports, press releases, features, opinion pieces, all of those type of things. The report of today's match is up by Abai, so go ahead and look at that. I'm so grateful for Abai, honestly, because yes, he's in America and the time zones are perfect for him. So at least he takes the burden off me of still writing the reports, because what would have happened is I would have written the reports as well as come do this live show as well. So I would have been completely dead tired and more tired than I am now. Now, at this moment, with the help of Abai, I have the opportunity to be able to actually watch and analyze every single ball, every game, and see the decisions from a different light and view, not from me watching to write a report, which is a completely different analysis that you have to do. Thanks a lot for everybody for watching. And I'll see you guys tomorrow with another review show, that is if weather permits and we have some game time that takes place. Take care, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day. Peace out.